Out to our audience now. Alex, it's been a good day for you. You won the draw off the top of the show. Now you get your question in there for Karen Seeley. What would you like to ask her?
Hi, Karen. Thanks for taking my question. I have an old 1900s bungalow, and it came with a brick front porch that I don't like, and I'd like to update it and make it look a little more current. What can I do?
You know what, bungalows are adorable, and there's so many of them in the city, and there's a couple different ways we can treat them. So we can actually play up the cute factor and play up kind of the cottagey factor.
Yeah.
And so you can see here's Alex's bungalow here. Very nice.
That is nice.
And then you can see she has this lovely gray palette. So I was asking Alex, I'm like, well, if you were going to do this, would you want it to be modern, contemporary, cottage? Like, what are you thinking? And she said she probably leans more towards a little more contemporary. So I'm going to show you a couple options. So this one is if we played up kind of the cutesy, kind of cottagey feel. So we can actually rip off that front porch. And what I would do is hauling away all that concrete can be very expensive. So instead what I would do is get rid of the brick, we're gonna haul that away. And then I'm gonna get rid of that overhang because it was just a very flat overhang. We're gonna do a beautiful peaked overhang here, and so that'll cover up the porch really nicely. We could do a nice cedar shake on the front, but for the stoop itself, I would actually do a material over top of it. So depending on the look she wants to go for example, if it's a cottagey look she wants to go for, she might decide to go with a brick and do it in a herringbone pattern, and you can lay that right on top of the stoop and cover it right up.
Right.
Or you could do some sort of composite material right over top, which again is kind of cottagey, and it comes in a zillion colors, and it doesn't need to be refinished. That's amazing. So you have no maintenance at the front of the house. And then she could do a cute little pickets. And what I would do at the end of the driveway, did you notice all of those? And it's a bane of our existence, isn't it, in the city here?
The recycling
The
bins.
recycling. I love that we recycle and that we compost, but where are we going to put all of those? You know?
Right.
So what
They need to make them more stylish.
Yeah. Oh, maybe we can design some. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Contest.
Absolutely.
I like this.
Let me think on that
I like
one.
this. Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah, they should be a lot more stylish. So what I would do though is we could just dig out a portion of the end of the driveway, so like 6 inches, 12 inches, and I would actually put shrubs all the way across.
Right.
So that way at least it's a very inexpensive way for us to hide those, so we don't have to see them. So in my little drawing here, you can see I've taken the shrubs right all the way over, and I would probably do something in an evergreen so that, or something at least holds its leaves, so that it's hiding it all year long.
Yeah.
I think that would look great. So if Alex decided to go more contemporary, then what she could do is do something quite similar, but all you really have to do is change up the materials. So for example, maybe we don't do this kind of pretty little scallop detail here, and maybe we don't do this kind of little picket style fence here. Maybe we do glass, and instead of doing it, you know, for example, if we were doing cottagey, I might go with this Brewster gray, which is kind of a beautiful blue gray, kind of seaside, very lovely. If she was going maybe a little more transitional, she might want to do this warm gray, so right in the middle. But if she wanted to go more modern, she could go with this really dark gray and do a pop of something like orange on the front door, do glass railings, and then pops of color in the garden, and she could really play up kind of that more modern aesthetic. So I think any of those would really work. I think the idea is let's not try to make a little bungalow something it's not.
Yeah.
So, you know, kind of use the existing footprint and play with the existing footprint. And the other thing I would suggest, and if we look at this close-up picture, you can see that right now we have a white trim around the door and white trim around the windows, and the windows are really low compared to the door. And by having such a dark siding and then the white trim, we're really emphasizing the fact that the windows are slightly low. And so I don't think you want to go to the expense of raising those windows and making them bigger. So instead, I would paint out that trim to have less contrast.
Got it.
And just hide that.
Really good tips. Love
Thank you.
those. Let's get a question from Shamala. I know you want to ask Jackie something. What would you like to ask her?
Jackie, I need to replace my wood floors, but we have a railing that reaches down to the floors. It's ugly, it's old. I want to know what you would do to update it, make it more urban.
Okay, well, I have had a chance to look at it, and the one thing that I did notice was that you have you're kind of more on a budget, so you're kind of concerned about that. So I was thinking, what are the options? What would I do on a budget firstly? Well, the easiest thing is to paint. So you could paint your pickets and your railing, and I even do the railing, and I'll use a varathane type paint, and they do have, I'm going to give you a color that you could possibly get stained, or rather mixed up rather, that's a little bit different to the set colors you can get in a varathane type. But again, you want to make sure as you're running up and down the stairs that you're not going to be wearing it off. So durability is really important on the rail, so you don't have to stain it per se. So I've noticed that you've also got wood baseboard. So my suggestion is we pick a trim color. And I'm thinking that you want to use something with a little bit of a cool factor because you've already started doing some painting. So I'm suggesting that one of my favorite whites is Chantilly lace. It's an OC65, and it's got a little bit of coolness. It's just a really great trim color, door color. It's crisp, it's fresh, but it still has a warmth to it. Now for the railing, you would want to add a little bit of contrast. So I wanted something that had a little bit of blue in it and a favorite blacky blue dark color. So this is the one that's off the grid. It's not something you're going to get ready-made. You get this mixed. Would be Iron Mountain, and it's 2134-30. So then that adds a lot of drama to the space, and it's going to complement those blue tones that you've been painting. Now, another question you asked was about the carpeting. Now, you can replace the carpeting, of course, or you could just leave it. But if you're going to replace it, you're getting into higher cost. You're going to be changing up the risers and the treads, and that can run into money. And I will give you a little bit of caution. Sometimes the floor color, stain, and the risers and treads, the veneer they use, don't always match. So it can be a real source of discontent when you're looking at it, when they're a little bit off. So you can still do the treads, but the risers, you could also just paint them out and then do them the Chantilly lace as well. But just be really diligent in making sure that your flooring and that veneer that they're going to put on the tread is going to be consistent. So I think the other question was, you have some beadboard that's running around the room. Yes, you can drywall it, that was the question, but you can also easily paint it, and that blue color that you have, and I didn't have the number, but regardless, I would consider that beadboard look as wall, paint it out, and I really think because of where it's positioned, you don't have to worry about it. I think you'll be able to just paint it out, no one will see it, and that's a really fast, effective fix-up. Fix-up.
Love it.